Late in 2005 I went on a Jaguar track day and had a ride in a D-type replica. This fired my enthusiasm and the XKSS project was born. This is the 4.2 litre Jag engine, Toyota 5-speed gearbox, Jaguar XKSS differential assembly. This is where the rear suspension will be going later on today, hopefully. The drive shafts and the bottom links on this unit are shortened to bring it down to the XKSS wheelbase. You can see the components of the front suspension here. Again, XJ6, completely overhauled, new bearings, bushes and so on, which bolt up onto the chassis there. And the whole lot is steered using a MGB steering rack. As you can see, they're mounted roughly where it will be on that silver plate, which bolts up against the front of the chassis there. A shortened prop shaft on the ground, rather nice cast alloy wheels, beaten aluminium surround for the windscreen, which looks a pig to fit. So I'm trying to hope to record most of the build as it goes on. Now let's put the bottom link in position. That's the pin we're going to put through. I think we're starting to go through there. Slight tap with a hammer. Modifying the washers to go on the end of the inner ring, outer ring and rubber seal. Put that on the end of the shaft. This is the front plate, which you take here and fit into the front of there. And the rear plate, which fits onto there. Now fitting the rear coilover shot units. Rear suspension installed in the chassis, everything fitted. And tomorrow we'll get on with fitting the rear hubs. And possibly on with the front suspension. Should be interesting. Check the clearance in the bottom link. Tapping the dummy shaft with the washers on. This is why we start the front suspension, and the first problem we hit is that the steering arm, which you see here, is not giving us that clearance between the disc and the boot there. Long pin in the bottom link. And those of you who've done that before will know that that was set up.
It's still a lot less self-conscious. They're not yet in the business of how to recreate that connection. And then the exits.
Using the trolley jack to get some load on the bottom joint so I can tighten the nut up. Now starting to put the front frame on. First thing is the steering arm bracket, using a spirit level to set it level, doing a bit of tweaking and filing to set it level to the chassis. that one fits there, but this one won't. But it does fit the other side, and it's longer. I've put this down. In fact, everything's level across the steering and the chassis, but the bottom along here is not level, and that's confirmed by measuring from the bottom suspension tube, that side and that side, and that I think accounts for the difference. It's 1/8 of an inch higher on the right hand side. Rack mounting, put some rubber, see the rubber there, these bits, goes right across underneath and then wraps around underneath and clamps down. 2 spacer bits like that and that. A slight problem on the track rod end. The pitch in the track rod end is 1.6 and the pitch on the actual steering rack is 2 mil, so they won't go. Rack mounted. Anti-roll bar, tighten the anti-roll bar up now, and drilled the holes in the right position, I hope.
You look at towards the end of this week, both for your house and for yourself, because things are going to turn markedly colder across all parts of the British Isles. And you saw that from me, I saw that. I would need all
If you're lucky. Ooh, pins sticking out everywhere. Trim the brackets for the header tank. Look a bit better. And the engine and Toyota gearbox you see there is hopefully going to be mated together now. See what snags we hit then. Spigot bush for the gearbox, new one. Toyota centre spline, Jaguar outer. Using a gearbox to line up the splines in the bush because I haven't got a dummy shaft available. Adapter plate in front of the Toyota gearbox. Now we have another moment of truth. Wow! See it? This is the oil filter housing with a vertical oil filter, rated at 40 odd litres a minute. Also using the filtered oil takeoff for the camshaft feeds, feeding up onto the back of the head as normal. Pedals roughly in position. Obviously the push rods have to be shortened for the suitable driving position. Here you see the 2 master cylinders. I think the reservoir for the brake, which is on the left, goes up on the top of the bulkhead here. I'm not too happy about that clutch cylinder being exposed to the road dirt. We have talked about putting a plate which will fill in and come up to prevent any road dirt off the wheel getting onto the cylinders. It's on the front engine mounts anyway. I'll fit the rear engine mounts. Do that nut up tight first, because you can't get at it. That's it. Next step is to put the body on. One or two things to tidy up first, but looks quite good, I think. Brakes have been working on there. Clutch pipe seems far too long. Right, this is the body going on.
Right, direct us.
Well, exactly. So, having done it once, we should be able to do it easily.
It's right up.
Petrol tank just resting there. The body is located at the rear of the chassis using these pieces here. You see inside I fitted a stainless steel plate to spread the load on the fiberglass. The line-up of the bonnet to the body looks extremely good. You've almost got a bonnet that opens. This extremely unlikely looking setup is to machine the counterbore in the steering arms a little bit flatter than it was before. We're now trying to establish the centre line of the car with a piece of string. Roll bar made out of, well, not toilet roll, but something similar. This is more what I had in mind, which I think could be made to fit inside the hood. At this stage I'm wondering how on earth to put the dashboard on and make it removable. Door locks are in. Notice small holes in the door to get the Allen key in. And behind that is a stainless steel plate tapped so that you don't have to bother putting the nuts on, because I think that would be virtually impossible. And also here, there's a hinge going on. Notice the aluminium packing plates give me some adjustment, and also the same idea, stainless steel plate which goes behind with nuts welded to the plate, which should make it relatively easy to put the hinge on. Fitting the rear catch. You can see the catch I've made up, so the door clip will clip into it. Right. Here we are. Let's see if this fits. That is much better. There we are, that's the shape. Next thing is to form the edges.
Murder and trying to stop. He was also convicted.
Dashboard mounting bracket shown in the welding nuts. I ran into trouble when I cut the holes in the dashboard, and the instruments fouled the cross beam that used to run across there. But this was the modification to move the crossbar towards the front of the car, hence 2 lots of slotted holes. Well, I'm now going to take the dashboard off so I can take it inside and see if I can fit the harness to the back of the dashboard. This is a mock-up dashboard which is going to be used to get through the SVA only. This is the, whoops, this spaghetti lip thing is the wiring. this device is we're checking the camber and the caster. The next step is by placing it against the tyre and adjusting this little gauge until the bubble is in the middle. That gives us 3 degrees negative camber. Right, we'll now try and drop this crafty bit of metal behind the top wishbone. And about 6 mil of packing is making 1.1 degrees difference to the negative camber. And then start looking at the caster angle. So we mount the front wheels on the swivel plates, and then on the floor we, whoopsie daisy, mark 20 degrees left, 20 degrees right and straight ahead. So we start off with the wheel, the left hand wheel pointing in, swing it through 40 degrees and then measure the gauge. The gauges are these things here, so we zero them when it's in and then we take a reading and zero them again using the gauge, turning the gauges, and we get 2.5 degrees caster. I've decided to move the handbrake closer to the XKSS position and it's now being welded. Here's the gear change and handbrake mechanism fitted in the new position. This is the battery which has been moved from underneath the exhaust pipe to a better position. That's a good view of the reservoir cylinder for the brakes, protected by this aluminium panel which also strengthens the outer sill. I'm now working on the near side front inner wheel arch, making a cardboard template to check the fit before I manufacture it in aluminium. That's the slight modifications to the template, which I now lay over the aluminium, trace round it and cut it out with a jigsaw. Once the panel's cut out, it will be formed using some fairly simple bending tools. At this stage everything comes off again, engine out, body off, because there's some fairly major modifications to the inside of the body, fibreglassing to be done and also some welding on the seatbelt mountings. After this there was quite a few weeks work with fiberglass and filler, making the boot and the doors fit properly. The engine was back in, and the next thing was to go to the road test. Here's the car on the back of Graham Gash's trailer on the way to Kirkbride Airfield, and a lovely day it was. This is the first time the car's moving under its own power. And so far everything has gone okay. Doesn't she look beautiful? Next step was to get the car into Carlisle for SVA, and here we see Andrew at the SVA station testing the speedometer for calibration. There were a few minor faults which were soon put right, and then we had that all essential document to be able to tax the car and insure it. From now onwards I'm working to make the car as true to an XKSS as possible. Here I'm reshaping the windscreen surround as it was out of line with the door. I changed the line of the top edge of the door by cutting and refiberglassing. We'd already done a considerable amount of fiberglassing, reshaping the transmission tunnel and also realigning the door skins, which were a long way out on the one side. Fiberglass is finished, it can be ground down and the profile of the door refinished and the shape of the door made correct. I also reshaped the dashboard so that it would fit well into the windscreen surround. Got some rather nice rear lights have arrived, much better than the SVA lights. This is a dashboard with the proper XKSS layout. Although we have 4 gauges, they should only have 2. And here I'm filing out for the relays, extra relays in the dashboard. This is my headlamp rim polishing jig. 230 grit, 600 grit, 800 grit, and then a polishing medium. Ready to be sprayed. Doors and boot. One of the problems with spraying this car is that the sills wrap right under, so you've got to get it jacked up on axle stands to be able to do a good job.
Well, we've got the car down for spraying now, and that's where it's going to be done in there. There's Craig putting the gloss on the bonnet. With the compressor coming in behind us. There's the door and the boot over there as well. Here's the body ready for spraying tomorrow. There we are, in the spray booth, and it's now been sprayed. See, what a lovely job. Can do a bit of polishing on the odd areas tomorrow morning. There she is, ready to go home. See, that fits rather nice.